It's like a tree falling in the woods. If your patch doesn't take, did it really be installed?
Right, and so then you go with this false sense of security that that patch has been deployed.
I've got it in all my systems.
I've got it right here, so it's true. I've got a topical point we're going to bring up, and that's called the average time to exploit. Hi, I'm Eric.
I'm Mike.
And welcome to this week's Cyber Sitrep.
Yes, the Cyber Sitrep, where we bring you the latest and greatest information coming out of our brains.
Oh man, that's a loaded statement.
It's a dangerous one right there. Let me tell you what.
Okay, well, I think what's on our mind right now,
that's right,
at least the next 10 minutes, is we want to talk about vulnerability scanning, the why and how.
Yep.
So I'd like to start, Mike, by saying that, a lot of our customers, and ourselves included back in the good old days, got patching and vulnerability scanning confused.
Yes.
And then they thought that the two were interchangeable and that if you did automatic updates and patching that you didn't need to do vulnerability scanning, right?
Right.
Why is that a wrong assumption?
Because we don't know exactly what patches are fixing what vulnerability, and sometimes you miss the patch, or an automatic patch doesn't take on one of your systems in a crowd of 100.
Right. And so when great point, in a crowd of 100, as you're talking at scale, more and more things can slip through the cracks, right? We have tools for automated maintenance and patching, which once again, maintenance, another sit rep coming up soon. So the other issue too is that the built-in patching mechanisms that we have are fairly OS-centric, operating system-centric, right?
Right.
And that they're looking primarily at the installed packages on an operating system, whether it's Windows, Mac, or Linux, and there's not as big a focus on the applications or even the configuration or
BIOS.
BIOS is a huge one, right?
Firmware,
right?
Yeah.
Those are not caught by default with our built-in patching mechanisms, right?
Right. And how many times have you tried to load software or load a patch when you did it manually and it died? Partway through, said we couldn't do it, and it just backs itself out, deletes what it tried. And if you're doing that automatically and you're not watching it, it's like a tree falling in the woods. If your patch doesn't take, did it really be installed?
Right. And so then you go with this false sense of security that patch has been deployed.
I've got it in all my systems.
I've got it right here, so it's true. I've got a topical point we're going to bring up, and that's called the average time to exploit. Right. So once a vulnerability is made known, and this really scared me, everybody, because I thought it was a lot longer than this because I'm out of date. But according to the interwebs, actually some really reputable sources.
Right.
Would you like to take a guess, Mike, at what the average time to exploit is in days?
Oh,
it's not even weeks.
I was going to say it's going to be under 7 days.
5 days and that's an average. Everybody. That's not. That's crazy, right? So anyway, we'll talk more about that.
But I was going to say just why, because if you think about now you're talking to your mom who's across the country and it's instantaneous. Well, I'm a bad actor. I find a new vulnerability. The minute I post that somewhere, it spreads like wildfire. So.
Yeah, right. And the reason for that is, once again, all internet attacks are time-based, right? So the more time that passes, the less effective those attacks will be, because eventually people will get around to patching.
Yep.
But, if you've got a really long patch cycle right now for your vulnerability management and remediation, you may want to rethink that. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. So vulnerability management products give us, in our professional opinion, more visibility into everything that's on your system, right? So not only the operating system, but your installed applications, your firmware, your configuration, how securely you've configured that system. A lot of these tools out there are multi-spectrum that way, so they give us a lot more bang for the buck, right? Than a regular, auto update feature. And once again, if that's all you have in your environment, it's better than nothing. So please don't turn off your auto updates, right? But realize that you need to do more than just auto updating your system, right?
Right, and the vulnerability scanners can go out and hit your whole company either like on a time period or continuously.
Right.
There are some now that just run,
yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Actually, one of the products that I'm going to mention does that continually in the background, and I didn't believe it until I saw it in action, and that's the future, right? Where it's just continually running as an agent on your system in the background, looking for any kind of change that occurs, constantly looking against the vulnerability database, and that's really where we're going, right? That's really that promise of, excuse me, continuous monitoring, which once again, that'll be another sit rep. Stay tuned for that.
Right.
If you listen to all of them, you may, know a thing or two, or
you can take
at
our
least
jobs.
more than us. Yeah, please do. Please do. We're looking.
We're looking to retire one day, so you can come on in.
Eventually. So we're trying to get everybody up to speed. So, right, hence the Cyber Sitrep. Okay, so Mike, we know we need to use one. What kind of options do we have out there for?
There are tons, and especially if you want
products.
the small to inexpensive to free to the paid ones.
Right.
One of my favorites is Nessus.
Oh yes, come from a company called Tenable, right?
Yep. And they have a limited IP address, so you're a small business and you can't afford to have a vulnerability scanner because you think, I'm a small business.
Yeah.
They give you up to 16 IP addresses for free.
Yes, for free, right? It's awesome. And here's the pro tip, right? Not to name drop Tenable, but we love Tenable. We grew up with Tenable in our careers. We still use Tenable. Once again, name drop Tenable. You guys make a great product.
Sponsor us.
Yeah, exactly. the other companies do a great job as well. We just have a lot of experience with Tenable.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is that Essentials version, it's called Tenable Nessus Essentials, right? Free up to 16 IPs like you talked about. And it's limited or nerfed, as we say in the community, right? It's nerfed to doing only vulnerability scanning, right? So Tenable itself, the Nessus tool, I should say, has a lot more capabilities. So you can do compliance scans, you can do PCI scans, you can do STIG scans. I mean, you can do all this other stuff, but it's kind of a teaser, right?
Right.
And full disclosure, right? All these ones we're going to mention that are free and open source, or free for up to so many IPs. The idea is, to get you hooked on their product and want to use it in more of a commercial setting. So that's their gamble, right? They're giving you access.
First taste is always free.
Exactly. I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. I was trying to avoid it, but you're right. It absolutely is. Give you your first shot of vulnerability management, and you can't go back, right? And that's okay. There are different price points. We'll let you look that up. But also on the free side, another product's been out there a very long time. Used to be called OpenVAS, which was Vulnerability Assessment System. OpenVAS, owned by a company called Greenbone. And they've renamed that the Greenbone Free Vulnerability Manager.
Right.
And so trying to look these up, you may have to do a little bit of search kung fu to find these. But once again, Nessus Essentials, if you Google that, you will find their landing page for that, how to register. Once again, free up to 16. Greenbone Free actually will let you do unlimited systems. But similar to the Nessus Essentials, there's a lot of additional features.
Not all the features.
Exactly. A lot of additional feature sets are locked, and the idea is that you fall in love with the product and you want to use it for the other purposes it's intended, and you will then part with your hard-earned dollars to make that happen. So once again, great product. Have used that as well in different customer environments. I like it. Also, a company called Rapid7, which is their claim to fame is Metasploit.
Metasploit, been around. Forever, forever. As long as I have, yeah.
Great pen test product out there, right? Blue team, red team. That's once again another sit rep. But they have a product called Nexpose, which is it used to have what was called a community edition. And Mike, I have to admit, I had to look it up today. They've kind of made it a little different, and they have a 30-day free trial now.
Yeah.
Now, what happens after that 30 days? I haven't had time to test that because it's been several years since I've used the Nexpose product, but it's excellent as well. It's very similar, a little bit different look and feel to the GUIs and the interfaces, but it does the same basic thing, right? Which is great.
The same thing. They want to give you the first taste, but then they need the money. And I used to say this when I was a DJ with what we had for music. We'd be like, "Oh, this is independent music," and then they'd become famous, and we're like, "Oh, they sold out."
Exactly.
So same thing with cyber companies. They give you something for free for a long time and say it's all community, until they get bought.
And we're going to have yet another sit rep on that because we'd have to have multiples of all the companies that started out, at the free and open source level, and then, they monetized it. So can't say as I blame them, right?
No.
But
I like money, so
I do too.
Yeah.
Right? So no hate there. Another variant out there is a company called Qualys. They have a great community edition as well. And their nice thing is that it's a cloud-based product. So you don't have to install a virtual machine or a physical appliance in your environment. You can just hook it straight to cloud and run it that way. And as of today, up to 16 different internal IP addresses you can scan, and 3 external addresses you can scan as well, all in a cloud interface. So that looks pretty nice. Now, there's a vicious rumor out there, Mike, and I can neither confirm nor deny. But what I was told through the grapevine is that actually Microsoft's product, which we're going to talk about shortly, originally started out as a Qualys rebrand.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
For-
They'd
for
like to
vulnerability
steal and
management.
take other stuff.
Well,
and,
they,
you know.
they were paying for it. They were paying for it. They licensed it until
Bill
they
Gates
could.
must be retired.
He is. Oh man, he's old. You are old, man. Yeah. So point is, Qualys, another great product out there, and all these products have in common is they have this free tier, and then they have a paid tier, and they have an enterprise tier, right? So it's the same players, and by no means is this list exhaustive. So all of you other vendors out there, please don't send us any hate. This is just what our experience set is in, and if you've got a product that you would like us to look at and eval, we'd love to do that for you. We're always looking to extend the tools in our toolbox, right?
Absolutely.
So, okay. All right. So that's at the free level. So at the commercial level, Greenbone has their Greenbone Security Manager product, right? That once again turns on a lot of those other bells and whistles. I'll let you guys look up the pricing on that. With Nessus, same thing. Nessus has both an on-premise version, like a floating license, and they also have a cloud-based version as well.
Right.
That they've renamed Tenable Security Manager. Which, once again, if you are in a distributed environment, all your workers are remote, then maybe that cloud agent way is the best way for you to go.
Absolutely.
Right, to ensure you get those vulnerability scans, right? Okay, same thing. Microsoft, as if you're a part of Microsoft 365 or Government Community Cloud or Government Community Cloud High, they have an add-on that's called the Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management add-on, and that is the one that, Mike, we were just talking about that does continuous scanning in the background. That thing is like an 800-pound gorilla on meth. I mean, it's just amazing how that thing is just all over your system.
Tie that in with Intune, the Microsoft Intune, and you've got your patch management with your vulnerability management talking to each other. And
exactly. It's a very strong product, very strong. And then at the enterprise level, Tenable bumps up another level to what they call Security Center, and Tenable SC was the name of it. And that is basically a large database manager, right, that has all these Nessus instances feeding data to it, so that you can manage vulnerabilities at scale in an enterprise environment, right? And then same thing with Rapid7 inside VM is their larger version of Nexpose. So think of Nexpose as the scanner and Insight VM as the scanner plus that back end huge. I'm not doing it justice by calling it a database, but tracking all of your vulnerabilities, helping you remediate those, reporting, et cetera. It gives you a lot of flexibility at the enterprise level.
And you want to make sure, again, just like we were talking on other tools and things, you have to find the one that meets your needs. You don't have to spend the high price enterprise if you're under 100 users.
Right.
Find the level that works for you.
And we joke that they're there to take your money, but the nice thing is you get comfortable with the tool at the free level and you're using that, and when you're ready to go to that next level to use it in enterprise or commercial, you don't have to relearn it. It's there. It's just additional functionality. So that's what I love about all those products.
Exactly.
Is that whatever you go with, you've got a growth path, easy upgrade path with minimal rework. Right.
Your tools will grow with you.
Right. Okay, so now the last part that we want to go over with everybody is, and we already kind of talked about this with the TTE and how scary that is you need to determine what kind of scan frequency you want in your environment, right? Do you need to scan daily? Do you need to scan every 3 days, weekly, monthly, quarterly? What does it need to be, right? And so it depends, right? It depends on your environment, what you got going on. Do you have any regulations that you have to meet?
That's a big one. If you have to do it annually, at least do it annually, but there's others that could be more frequent.
And honestly, guys, we joke, if you're only doing it annually, then why are you doing vulnerability management?
You definitely need to do it much, much more rapidly. So
exactly, and frequently, right?
Yeah.
So, okay.
And real time. If you can get it to run real time, that's the best way, because then it's always on. But if not, my recommendation is at least monthly. Run a scan.
Yep, I agree.
Microsoft comes out with their patch on the second Tuesday of every month.
Yeah.
So
very
that
important.
would be a great time on the second Thursday of every month to run my vulnerability scan to make sure all the patches took.
So if we could do just a quick segue before we wrap up, let's talk about Patch Tuesday for just a second. So Microsoft puts out patches, you said second Tuesday of the month, right?
Yep.
And so who else downloads those patches besides people that need them?
All the bad guys.
All the bad guys. And that's so that they could reverse engineer those patches to see what was fixed. And once they have that, then they will try to weaponize that and turn it into an exploit to gain access to your system, which then, based on this time to exploit average, within about 5 days, they've got access to your system.
If you haven't made sure the patch took.
Exactly.
Thus the patching Thursday, the second Thursday of every month.
Right, exactly. So
Making sure
in addition to that, Mike, I was, you know me, I'm a geek. I have to Google stuff or it's not real, right? Or DuckDuckGo, whatever your search engine is, right?
Exactly.
So in addition to the average TTE, the dwell time statistics, which is that amount of time that the bad guys loiter around on your system before they pop the trap, if you will, right? Whether it's exploiting your system, pulling data off your system, or ransomware encrypting your data, is anywhere from 5 to 14 days, right? So
I know folks that will wait, though, for up to 6 months.
I've seen that, right? And we'll mention another author and another cast about auditing, and dwell time is anywhere from 60 to 90 days, especially for like nation states. They want to be low, slow, and persistent. We'll talk about that in another Sitrep, I promise. So at best, we've got 5 days for exploit to gain access to the system, another 5 to 14 before the trap is pulled, and you're having a bad day, right? So that is, by my math, that's 10 days to 2 weeks and you're toast, right? And then, you know, the other stat that really blows me away, Mike, is that I was reading that exploits are still pulled off after over a year of a patch being available.
I know of a case of that.
That's crazy.
If you remember, there was the Eternal Blue breach.
Yes,
and
Google that. Look that up.
Oh, that's a crazy one. We can have a whole show on that. But basically, a year after Russia attacked Ukraine using Eternal Blue. And if they had patched their systems, Ukraine wouldn't have had a $3 billion loss in that breach.
Right. They must not have known about vulnerability management, I guess.
They didn't.
I don't know.
They didn't run vulnerability scans.
That's why you need to listen to our Sitreps. We'll get you smart, right? So,
exactly.
Okay. So, yeah, they're there. They're there really quick. They stay persistent, and they hang around a really long time, right? So you have to do vulnerability management as part of your InfoSec procedures, right, for your organization. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is how quickly do we need to mitigate those discovered vulnerabilities, right?
Yes.
And so,
they're not all built the same, so you want to make sure that you're hitting the most important ones first.
Right. What a concept, right?
Right.
And once again, that depends on your environment. It also depends on, do you have regulations you have to meet, right? So some typical ones, right? And once again, this will vary, but generally agreed upon best practice, right, is for criticals, those that are at the highest of the food chain, right? The ones that will really make you have a bad day, anywhere from 24 hours to max of 7 days, right?
Right. As soon as possible, really.
Yeah, and a lot of our customers they decide on 72 hours. It's kind of their sweet spot, 3 days, right? That's still less than that 5 days for average time to exploit, so I could go with that, right? But I think 7 days and definitely 14 days, you're not really doing yourself any favors on that, right?
No, so it gives you time to test the critical and then put it into place.
Oh, no, see, you just said something else. You test.
Got to test them before you patch.
Before you patch. That's another Sitrep. Okay. So highs, which is the step below that, anywhere from 7 days to 14 days. So 1 week to 2 week is general practice, right? I mean, once again, if you have a unique use case that requires something different, that's totally all right. We'll talk about that later offline. And then we have moderates and lows, right? And a lot of people like to do moderates and lows together because, it's just more convenient. They want 3 buckets instead of 4. I don't know. There's no wrong answer here. But once again, those are anywhere from 7 days to 30 days, right? Generally, right?
They tend not to be as critical, maybe not give you remote access or admin privileges. They're like it could block your machine or slow your machine down. Something that's why they're low or moderate.
Right. And once again, when we start talking about enterprise architecture, hopefully you'll have a separate dev test string. You'll have your production string, and you'll promote it through dev test, make sure it works before you put it into production, so you don't have a really bad day where you're on call all weekend, right? That's why you never patch on the weekends.
That's right.
Because it spoils your weekend.
Also, if not everyone has their computer on.
There's that
on the
too,
weekend.
Right?
You don't patch it if it's not on. So
exactly. All right, Mike. So to wrap up, vulnerability management, we got to have it. Don't rely on your updating mechanisms that you have. Right. It needs to be a separate product that's agnostic, that is got full visibility into your systems. And just as one final shout out, one of the things that has been showing up in our vulnerability management scanners for quite a while are all these BIOS updates that we need to do because of all the processor-based vulnerabilities that have been found here recently. We've had a spate of those, right?
Yeah, it's not just your software. It is the software that's running your hardware and your chipsets and your IoT devices in your home or in your business.
Absolutely. So stay vigilant.
Yes, we have to stay vigilant. My advice again, is do your patch management, but make sure you're running some sort of vulnerability scan at least monthly to make sure everything's working, that there's a vulnerability, that maybe one of your systems didn't catch or patch. And with that, I would like to give a big shout out because we're coming to you live from Studio 809 Community Podcast Studio. We are at the Next Us, which is a professional cooperative environment for the small businesses in downtown Colorado Springs. Woo-hoo. We enjoy it, so come check us out not only online, but maybe we'll give you a wave from the building.
Thanks everybody. We'll
Thank
talk to
you
soon.